in the back here, you're going to hear Eric. He's taking off some panels off of a window here. So I'm always transparent with you guys, so just so you know. So we missed vlog number 80, so this is going to be vlog number 80. And what I wanted to do, this is kind of an evergreen thing. I wanted to talk to you about how we price stuff. Okay, so if you're going to take on or use some version of what we do in selling stuff, repurposing stuff, you need to know how to price stuff. So let's talk about pricing stuff. Okay, so let's say it's a diamond ring, okay? So first of all, you need to get these little gizmos and you touch the diamond and it'll tell you whether the diamond's real or not. If it's a real diamond, then you go ahead and you put it on. If it's something that's it looks very expensive and super clear, well, now you need to go see a jeweler. You want to go see them and you want to see what you got. Now, if it's just an ordinary piece of jewelry, it's just not really big or anything like that, then what you do is you look it up, you take your camera out and you look up, take a Google lens, you give it a background that is plain and you take a picture of it. From there, Google Lens will hunt it out. Once it hunts out what it is, you need to kind of go through that and figure out what looks the most like what you have. And you'll be surprised. Google Lens is bad to the bone. When that came out, that was a game changer for us because it saves you a tremendous amount of time. So you take that and then you look at it and you look at the different things. So Google Lens is typically going to tell you what they're selling them for. What you want is completed sales. You want to know what they actually sold for. Now, most of the time when you're selling stuff online or you're selling stuff at a store, the price is the price, okay? When you're dealing with eBay or you're using used stuff, it's a whole different thing. So you go in, let's say there's been 3 sales on eBay. First of all, normally the lowest one, a lot of times it's somebody that's just desperate for money and they're just dumping something and they just want to get something to sell it and real quick in that. The highest one, typically that's what you want to be. And let's say that you got 3. So you kind of go from the lowest to the highest and kind of pick out your flavor. So the flavor, in my opinion, is this. The flavor is how quick do you want to sell it? If you're willing to wait a little bit longer, a lot of times you'll get more money for it. You got to give it some time to have some exposure. So if it's something really rare, putting it on eBay is a good idea. So putting stuff on eBay gives you the exposure for us of the United States. You could have the exposure of the whole world. We don't like that. I have had a lot of bad experiences with that early on when we first started doing this. I was mailing stuff to all over the world and frequently it would get lost or they would say it got lost or whatever. And I had a lot of times when it didn't, I didn't ever get paid and they were getting their money back from eBay. So, you know that saying, if you stick your finger on the hot stove, you learn not to do that. Well, I quit doing that. Now, that was 20 years ago. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't work better today, because today's technology and the fact that everybody's buying things online is much better than it's ever been. So I'm saying that if you want to try that, I wouldn't say that it would be a bad idea. I like consistency. I like to know what I'm getting into. I like to have a measurable result. The measurable results is shipping stuff to the United States, and I kind of have a decent idea of how honest or dishonest the American humans are, and I'm not vouching for them. I'm just saying I've come to know and have a decent idea of what to expect. Okay, now let's talk about Craigslist. Let's talk about Facebook Marketplace. Now, if you're going to sell stuff and you can sell it in your marketplace and it's something that everybody is going to buy, everybody needs. Okay, let's say a refrigerator or a stove or a couch or a kitchen cabinet set, that kind of stuff. Stuff that's going to sell in your geographical market in a pretty readily is something you want to sell. on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. The things you want to sell on places like eBay are things that are rare or that are small and easy to ship and most likely not going to get damaged in shipping. So what you do with stuff like that ring, yeah, that'll sell on Facebook Marketplace. That'll sell on Facebook. It's not usual, but it will. It would sell there. You're going to get less money for it here as a region. You know, you break this down into, I like to break it down into the real basics, okay? I start with the yard sale. And the yard sale is just your neighborhood. And your exposure is very limited. And you're going to get just a certain amount of money for something. Then you have Craigslist. Craigslist is your region, and you're going to be able to sell stuff in your region. You're going to get a little bit more money for it than you would at a yard sale because you're getting more exposure. Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist go into the same bucket. However, Facebook Marketplace versus Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace is the dominant selling platform. The other thing is to have a store. Okay, to have a store means you need a staff, you need a store to sell from, you need insurance, you need the lights on, you need a parking lot, you need all the stuff you got to deal with. So of the reselling things, the ideal scenario is to sell on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Now, I like Craigslist a lot. Now, I have a huge track record with Craigslist. What I like about Craigslist the most is the fact that they have this button that says more ads by this user. And what that does for me is I've actually taken that and put it on our website. And instead of me doing something redundant and putting stuff on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and on my site, which gives us more to do, I just put a button on there, and the button links to the more ads by this user. So you go onto our website, you click the red button, and now you got our whole inventory on Craigslist. Okay. Now, Facebook Marketplace, as far as I know, because everything's changing all the time, you can't do that. Okay. So Facebook Marketplace, now you have a different economy. You have a different. People on Facebook have a tendency to be making more money than just the ordinary people out there. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but you get the idea. So you take the Craigslist stuff, and I think it's the bomb. So then what you have to do when you go to price stuff, let's say you look up a refrigerator. Let's say you get a refrigerator, it's 10 years old. So you look up that same refrigerator, a very similar refrigerator to that, and you look it up on at Home Depot or wherever they're selling appliances. And you say, okay, very similar refrigerator selling for $2,000. Okay, now this one's 10 years old. It's in pretty good shape. It's in above average condition. So you say, okay, so what we do is this, and I call this my fantasy price. So what I'll do is I'll take that price, $2,000, I'll split it into a third, and then I add a little or I take a little bit away. So I take that, and how did I figure this out? The market taught me this. So I start at the price, $2,000. I go a third of that. So I'm going to ask, say, $600 for it. Okay. So let me see if my math's right on that. I'll tell you what. Let's use $1,000 so I can do it in my head. So $1,000. So a third of that's going to be $300. Okay. So this particular refrigerator is in very good condition. So I'm going to go $300 plus about $100. So then I call that my fantasy price. That's the price where I'm like, oh, I got what I wanted for it. Okay. Now, somebody shows up, they say, hey, I'll give you $350 for it. Okay, I'm going to take it. So we're good with that. So, okay, let's say that same fridge is a year old. Okay, it's $2,000 fridge. Okay, now what you're going to get is you're going to get the guys that are like me. They're going to look it up on Home Depot, and then I'm going to see if somebody's got one for sale on Craigslist or on Facebook Marketplace before I go spend the money at the at Home Depot. So what happens is, if it's a $2,000 refrigerator, if I could get it for $200 or $300 less than that, I'm going to go take my truck and go pick it up at this guy's house because I'm saving a lot of money. But if I'm only going to save $100, I'd rather just get the one at the Home Depot and know for sure that I don't have any problems with it. So you see the mindset there. So then what? So if it's brand new, a couple years old, and you'll get stuff like this, I just take a couple, $300-400 off, and then ask is that price, and then I'm fairly negotiable on that. So now, which is the best? Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or eBay? Well, eBay will knock the socks off of anything, depending on what it is. Now, eBay stuff here's where eBay really helps you out. Let's say you've got a really high-end fridge, and let's say it's a $15,000 fridge, brand new. It's 3 years old. You got it in your shop, and you're asking $5,000 for it. Well, the chances of you selling a $5,000 fridge in your marketplace is greatly enhanced if you put it on eBay. Now, somebody from California will look at that $15,000 fridge, and you're asking $5,000 for it. And let's say it'll cost me $1,000 to get that shipped to me. So I got $6,000 in a $15,000 fridge. I'm going to buy this on eBay. I'm going to get them to put it on a pallet and send it to me. So that's how that works. So things that are really rare, like Viking, Sub-Zero, things like, I'll give you some examples, some things we sold on eBay this last year that are kind of interesting. One was an old generator. It had a John Deere motor on it. And I know that there is a following for John Deere, and people love John Deere stuff. So I put it on eBay, and it took I think it took 8 or 9 months to sell, but we sold it for $2,000. Most people in that situation with that older looking thing, they would have thrown it in the scrap pile, and they got 10 cents a pound for it. So we got $2,000 for it. Now I started at $5,000 for it. What it was it was a generator, a whole facility generator, and there was nothing wrong with it. It was used at a school bus repair facility. They just were updating their equipment because it was old. So this was an actual functioning system. So I put it on there, and it sold. So we put it on a pallet. We shipped it to somebody. They paid for the shipping. It was like $600-700 to ship it to them. They sent us a thank you. Oh my God, I love this. Blah, 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 blah. You know, they're John Deere people. So then we had something else. We actually bought out this guy. We bought his whole facility. We bought his forklift, his box truck, and all of his equipment. A hurricane hit, and he was just done. He just wanted out, okay? And he just dumped everything. So we went in, and I could see his pain. I said, I'll tell you what, how much for everything? He said, well, what would you offer me? I said, I'll give you 20 grand for all of it, okay? Now, most people don't have those options, but I'm just telling you what we did. The truck was worth $15,000. We sold the forklift within a couple days for $7,500. Then he had some very specialized machines called CNC machines. They make things, they cut things. They're cutting machines. And I knew it would take a long time to sell them. And I put them up for like $7,000 or $8,000, and I put them on eBay. So we had it for a long time, going on almost a year, and we ended up getting $3,000 for that. Now, inside of that warehouse, we got probably over 1,000 items, okay? And then I got a bunch of materials and stuff that we were able to repurpose and resell. So out of that thing, if you said, would you do it again? Maybe 50-50, maybe. Depends on how much inventory I have. So it was right around the corner. We literally could run everything up and down the street with our Bobcat as a forklift and use his forklift that we bought from him, and so on and so forth. So we probably made 20 grand off of our 20 grand, which is a good return. And that's also factoring in overhead, employees pay and all that kind of stuff. So I think it was probably a fairly good deal. We like to double or triple or quadruple what we're doing when we're doing this stuff, because there's a lot of factors that come into play. Because a lot of times what happens is you have something for a while and either it gets rained on, or you find out it's got mold all over it or something like that, and it's not saleable. So you end up throwing it away. So you have money in it, but typically when I'm talking about something like that, it's a kitchen cabinet set, you have money in the fact that the guys removed it, and you have money in it that way, and you moved it back to the shop, and then you cleaned it, and you put it on Craigslist and everything like that. So pricing stuff. So, okay, now let's talk about pricing stuff. So if you have questions, if I missed something important to you, just leave it in the comments. We'll get back to you and I'll explain it to it in better detail. Because I could talk about this for probably 8 hours. Okay, so I'm just giving you kind of the broad brush. Okay, so here's the pricing structure we use. We're always out of space. Now, for a minute, I was in a 90,000 square foot warehouse. Okay, so I was bringing back a lot of stuff that I wouldn't bring back right now, because it's stuff I know it's going to take 6 months to sell and may or may not ever sell. And I had the space for it, but I ran out of space with 90,000 square feet. So basically that was an old tomato plant at the end of the street where we had our warehouse, the last warehouse we were in, which was 7 years ago, something like that. So I got about 20,000 square foot. I got all these shipping containers, and we put lights in them, and we put our inventory in there, and it keeps them pretty dry and everything. So I got about 20,000 square foot, and I've got to churn that stuff. So I start with my fantasy price. A lot of this stuff, I just got a pretty good idea because we've been doing this long enough of what to value it at. And then what I do is I go for 4 weeks at that fantasy price. Then what we do is at the 4th week, we bring it down 10%. Then the 5th week, we bring it down 10%. Then the 6th week, we bring it down 10%. And we keep doing that until it's gone. Okay? Now, if it's a hurricane window and it's outside and I got plenty of room, I'll get to a certain point and I'll stop bringing the price down because I know it's going to sell. No matter what, it's going to sell for this price. So I'll do that on that. But that's how we do it, and that's how we keep the inventory moving. Okay? So the fantasy price is the most likely price that it's going to sell for, likely. Okay? If it's brand new, the fantasy price is going to be a little bit higher. It's going to be a couple $100 less than what a brand new one is. If it's a kitchen cabinet set, I'm looking at the style, how old it is, how many defects it has now that it's at my warehouse, how big it is, how much space it takes up, all those kind of things. All those things go into the factoring it. You can watch our videos about our warehouse and you can see a lot of this stuff. So this is our vlog number 80. This is a fill-in. This is an evergreen. And I'm just explaining to you something that's very important when you're talking about reselling stuff. So the other thing you can do, it's www.removeitpros.com. You can go on my site and look at what we're asking for something. Keep in mind, I'm in a high-end luxury market. So Bonita Springs is not that. Naples is that. Fort Myers Beach is that. Marco is that. Sanibel is that. And those are the places we work on. Bonita Springs is the lesser of all them, although it's still a very expensive place. So it's Remove It Pros Demolition. This is the Remove It Pros Pure Entrepreneur. We're basically taking you on our journey with us as we open up these new locations and we grow this and we teach people how to do this stuff, this green stuff that we're doing that helps our planet and helps you make money coming and going. So I'll see you on the next video.